V, what's going on, brother man?
Good evening, HillbillYinzers. How y'all doing out there? Hey, we have a special thing to say tonight. I know I just messed that up. Hey, tonight's HillbillYinzer podcast is brought to you by Crawford's Black and Gold Gift Shop, located in Breezewood, PA. Crawford's has all the trendiest official merchandise from your favorite Steel City teams. They offer the largest selection of Steelers, Penguins, and Pirates gear. Check it all out at crawfordsgiftshop.com.
All right.
G-Man, what do we got? What do we got tonight?
Nice. So nice to have a sponsor before we have, like, even 10 followers, man. This is awesome. So we're going to talk some Buccos. We're just a few games in here so far, but it is, as we talked about before, it was like watching a meteor, get bigger and bigger, crashing towards the earth, knowing it was going to, destroy all the dinosaurs and, everything we love. Oh. So, but it's here, and we wanted to talk mostly about some of the curious decisions that are made with regard to our personnel. And the first thing I wanted to touch on was O'Neal Cruz. We've talked before about how obviously he and his agency, agreed to the position switch to center field because center field is still kind of a glorious, position. It's a leader out there. It's supposed to be a leader, kind of the quarterback of your team, certainly the quarterback of the outfield. But where he really should be, in my opinion, is right field. And, we can go on and on about the reasons why, but he's going to kill us in center field. He's going to be the first center fielder possibly in National League history to make 25 errors. Because unlike shortstop, when you olay a ball in center field, they got to give you an error. At shortstop, you can make a decision, a business decision that I'm not going to be able to throw him out, so I'm not going to touch the ball. And sometimes they give him a hit on that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So he should be in right field. Ji-Hwan Bae should be starting in center. And certainly, when he's on his stronger side of the plate and leading off for the team. We're not going to win anything, so he should be out there playing every day. Tommy Pham, we talked a little bit earlier about how he could provide some leadership for O'Neal Cruz. Be there to tell him maybe when he's, messing some things up, not hitting the cutoff man, not calling for a ball. But it doesn't seem like he's talking to him at all out there. And he's hitting under 100, so I don't know what Tommy Pham's doing out there. Then the other position, the curious decision of Shelty, would be Emmanuel Valdez at first base, who catches the ball up by his face. Okay, you can go to YouTube.
His face.
Yeah, he catches the ball. It's just he catches it here. You can go to YouTube and watch a video on how to play first base, and it's like, okay, you have the side of your foot on the side of the bag. You step out as far as you possibly can. You reach out as far as you possibly can. Now, we're only talking about, a quarter of a second here, but, it's baseball. It's a lot of times that's the difference between out and safe. Yeah. So that's a big question that I've had is that why do you have, Billy Cook and DJ Stewart play first base up until the last 3 games of spring training and then send both of those guys down, sign Emmanuel Valdez, who's a Boston Red Sox, Charrington's brilliant pickup over there, so he obviously can play for the Pirates if he'll play for the Red Sox. And then stick him at first base for how many games now? It's been like 4 or 5 games.
Yeah, he's played at least
while
4.
we wait for perennial MVP candidate Spencer Horowitz to come off the DL. It's like a joke. I can't take it, man. What do you think?
I don't even know where to pick it up from there. I don't even know what I agree with you with O'Neal Cruz. Of course, I said throw O'Neal back at shortstop. I mean, is it really going to hurt you? Is it going to hurt you any more than it is at center? I do understand where you were saying put him in right, which would be true. You could do that as well. I just don't know if we have a center fielder. I don't think there's anyone that's ready. I don't know if Jack is ready. As much as you love the acquisition of Tony Pham there in the beginning, he's not hitting his weight right now. And your comment about communications, I don't want to be mean. That's not what we're here for. But does that mean you need a translator in center field so anybody who does talk to O'Neal Cruz, he can understand, they can understand him, etc. So there's that challenge that you see there. But
Pretty sure
I
that's
mean,
against the rules.
Probably is.
Having a translator out there, so.
I mean, think about it. The only guy on the team so far that's playing really, really well is Falafel. Falafel is just, yeah, he's tearing it up. I mean, he's batting over 300.
This is Veej's nickname for IKF, Isaiah Kiner Falefa. But I like it. Let's go with it.
But I mean, I don't know if he's the shortstop. I mean, he's probably more of a second baseman than he is a shortstop. And again, my opinions, those are my opinions and all. You know what I have to say. I just, you know, yeah, the whole position, the position players are just tough. I mean, I think we all, I shouldn't say that. I'm not going to speak for anybody. I think you and I both have our thoughts on the positional players and where they should be, who they should be. But I don't know if it would matter whether you put a lineup together or I put a lineup together. You know, my favorites is the pitching staff. And, you know, I played it and I love pitching and I love watching pitching. But you cannot make excuses every game. I mean, Mitch Keller, how long has Mitch been with us now? He's been with us 3 years, 4 years?
No, more than that, yeah.
Okay, 4 years. And his
I
quote.
think it's 5, but.
5 years?
Yeah.
And his quote, 2 quotes. His loss, his second loss, second pitch. Keller says that the loss is completely on him. Well, no crap.
Accountability, yeah.
Okay.
You like that.
You love accountability. Secondly, I have to throw more strikes early in the count. So you got to imagine he's been with us 5 years at the major league level, and you got to think he's 5 years into the minor league system. Don't you think that's one of the things that you would have been taught 10 years ago? So it's the whole thing of using these excuses game after game. Remember, you're pitching every 5 days? What are you doing between it? What are you doing at spring training? I think it's almost time that Mitch needs to get his head out of his bum and either start throwing strikes strategically, not down the middle of the plate where everybody's hitting home runs, or go sell insurance. Just go. Just get off the mound and go sell insurance somewhere. Because
it was his birthday, man.
It doesn't.
Being a little harsh.
But it doesn't matter. It's like Shelton always making excuses for the guys who don't play the game properly. I mean, you were in spring training. You saw a lot of opportunity from a number of different players. And that's what they did down there, right? They prepped. And if they didn't feel they had the right group or they had too many players to spread the wealth of being able to practice, then they should have just pared it down and said, okay, you guys go over here and practice. We need our starting, whatever that is, to learn how to catch a ball, throw the ball, field the ball, know where to throw the ball, stop the pitches if they're bad in the dirt, and just throw the strikes. I don't get it. And Shelton's, it's time to start calling people out. It's just time to start. You can't coddle them anymore. You can't. You just can't coddle them, in my opinion. And you just need to say, hey, you know what, O'Neill Cruz, you suck tonight. We need to figure out how you can get better. And if that means we got to stick you in right field, then let's do it. Hey, Mitch, if you don't get your head out of your bum and start pitching. Now, again, you also have a pitching coach, one that I don't believe is going to be as effective as they need for the starting pitchers. And the
Skeen should be the pitching coach.
I mean, geez, Zoe, why not? You might as well
save the salary. Yeah, when we were sitting up at the Kona Bar at Lecom Park in Bradenton watching O'Neill play center, and he messed a couple of things up in spring training, but they just laughed it off, And he would trot in at the end of each inning, and I swear this is the truth. He would trot into second base. And he'd have a short conversation with the umpires, the field umpires. And then he would trot to the line and then walk to the dugout. He didn't get back to the dugout until, this is most innings, by the way, too. He didn't get back to the dugout until, it was literally 30 seconds from the batter stepping into the box for the next inning. And, you could kind of tell, like, let's back up one step. Okay, position change. Anytime you make a position change in sports, usually you are nervous and, excited and, I got to get my reps. I got to really hunker down on this. I really got to learn this. All right. I don't think he's had that attitude, even from last year when he played the last month out there. Mm-hmm. Certainly, we didn't see it during the off season or in spring training. Okay, so It's a professional baseball team, right? Major League Baseball team. Okay, so we go into the regular season, and he doesn't know when he's supposed to hit a cutoff man. He doesn't know how to really call off the left fielder and the right fielder.
Yeah.
He doesn't know that. So he's a right-handed thrower, so his glove's on his left hand. So if a ball's hitting the gap between him and the right fielder, he's got to get there and either call it like he's got it, and if he doesn't have it, he doesn't have it. And then the opposite on the other side, with Pham, he's got his glove on this side. So obviously you don't want to reach across your body if you don't have to. So he should defer to Pham when things are going towards the North Shore notch. And he hasn't done that. He just he sprints like he's trying to steal a base for like 2 seconds, and then when he realizes that he might hit the wall, he stops sprinting. And you saw it twice already this year. I mean, he is a freak athlete, man. He could probably get to the wall and jump over the wall before the ball goes over the wall when there's a home run hit if he really wanted to. Let's face it. So you're trying to tell me that he can't get to a ball that lands on the warning track? There's no way. So he doesn't want to hit the wall is what I'm trying to get to. Aaron Judge is out there slamming against the Clemente wall or the Monster Energy drink wall or whatever you want to call it now. And our center fielder is afraid to hit the wall. Now, yeah, he just started playing the position. Maybe he doesn't want to get a concussion. Maybe he doesn't want to be out for the rest of the season. But this is the kind of stuff you got to consider when you move a guy to a position, of that caliber. And they just didn't do it, and it's probably because whoever his agent is, no one's really ever said the name of his agent. He's got an agency. They probably insisted, okay, you're going to move him from short. He's only playing center field. Meanwhile, he's going to kill us all year long. So that's my point with him moving to right field. Moving back to shortstop is a joke, He could never do that. He'd make 35 errors there. Everybody knows it.
So where do
But he got 7 stolen bases, though.
Well, I mean, and that's a great thing because we talked about that. If you're not going to pay for a team with a salary that you're going to drive in runs, you got to do the small stuff, and that's what we chatted about. You got to steal, you got to bunt, you got to sacrifice, you got to pull things over. But then, if we have to put Cruz in a specific position, not we, they have to put Cruz in a specific position, then your thought is right field. Okay, so if we're going to put him in right field,
don't have to think as much out there. Yeah.
Then he needs to be sent down. Send him to Indianapolis. Give him a month down there
with Bednar.
Yeah, well, sure. I mean, Bednar. What's Bednar going to do? But I mean, give him a month down at AAA. Have somebody work with him. They're not obviously working with him, and I shouldn't say that because I don't know. But if they are working with him, that he's not picking it up. There's a miss there, and I don't know what you do. Because he just might not be smart enough to play the game of baseball. It does acquire some intelligence.
All right, Jimmy the Greek, you're going to get us torched on the
well, I'm just saying
on the chat board there.
It just has to. You have to figure it out, or maybe, as you put it, he's just not interested, and maybe that's what it is. I don't know. I don't know him. I don't know anything about him, but it just does not seem like he's all there. He's all in, maybe. And again, who knows?
If you directly compare and contrast him with Ellie De La Cruz, which is easy to do, they're both very similar players. They have similar power, similar speed, similar arm strength. And Ellie De La Cruz makes a crap ton of errors at shortstop, man. But they overlook it because he stole 60 bases last year, or 70 or whatever it was. So I'm happy that O'Neal Cruz is like, has addressed that, and he's got 7 stolen bases already.
Right.
Because that's the only thing that makes Ellie De La Cruz a superstar is the stolen bases. His other stats are, if O'Neal played full seasons the last couple years, they would have had the same stats other than that. So he is addressing that. I like to see that. He's obviously not taking the position change seriously because in his head he believes he's he can be an all-star player out there, just kind of playing like it's a beer league softball game. But there's this thing called, the the box score, and he's going to fill it up with errors and all kinds of bad decisions, and just going to kill us out there. But anyway, yeah, that's the Buccos in a nutshell. But we also wanted to move on to another topic tonight, and we will continue to talk about the Buccos here over the next 6 weeks until they fall out of contention, or there's a lot of stuff we can talk about with the Buccos. But moving on to topic number 2 today would be the craziness of the transfer portal in college sports, which is kind of cool on one side because if you have a new coach coming in, which WVU has in both sports, you basically can go out and pirate away, dozens of guys from other programs here during the transfer portal and reshape your team in a very short period of time, which wasn't possible before. And then the transfer portal, as it relates to coaches, we've said now for a decade that the coaches are able to transfer anytime they want, and they get huge bumps in pay, and they leave the kids behind. And so obviously the kids get to do that now as well. But you got coaches like Kevin Willard, who's leaving Maryland to go to Villanova, and I think he knew it before the NCAA tournament started, but he just didn't say it in press conferences because that's the kind of thing that would really kind of destroy the momentum of your team. And then you have Darren DeVries leaving WVU to go to Indiana. And his press conferences, he's saying, well, I wanted to go to a place that has the resources and the tradition and the blue blood. But if you look at the last 25 years, WVU's done better, in every metric than Indiana has. So, I don't know what he's really saying there. I do understand, you go to Indiana in basketball, it's like, well, I'm at a blue blood. You go to Nebraska in football, well, I'm at a blue blood. But, as the landscape has completely changed. So, obviously the NCAA is going to try to tamp this down in some ways, but,
I don't know if they can.
It's crazy.
I mean, I think they opened up the floodgates. They didn't have any guardrails. And how do you pull back something that's out of control? I mean, I just don't know if you really truly can. And again, universities, like you said, coaches have been jumping ship whenever they want, or whenever they feel it's the right time for them. And that's growth for them. I get that. Universities have been taking money through the profiting of the kids and how well those players play and the success that they have, as well as the teams in bowls. And do they deserve an opportunity to reward or be rewarded for that? Sure. But I just think that the portal is, why are we even recruiting anymore? I mean, you're coming out of high school nowadays, I don't think it truly matters at this point, because what's going to happen is you're going to have team. All right, let's take University of Pitt, Capel. I don't know if Capel truly is a developer as a coach. I think he's the kind of guy that can bring in a veteran player and maybe get them to work together and potentially have success. But look at Lowe. Lowe just left to go to Kentucky. Now, there's a lot of situations and probably scenarios around that, but it looks like he couldn't develop him. And I don't know if he expected him to do a certain thing as a more mature kid, but he was only a sophomore in college. So where are you taking the time to develop them? And then bringing them in. They lost 5 guys, 5 or 6 guys to transfer portal. What do you do? And I think they only have one high school kid coming in. Now you're just going out and you're trying to find anybody who can play to save your bottom. Okay? And then we talk about buyouts. And I think Capel might have, I don't know, we'll just say, I think it's around $4 million. Yeah, so if it's $4 million and he's got 5 years, it's $20 million. So now you have to buy him out. Then you have to pay a coach $20 million or whatever that is. And then on top of that, you're playing the players. The buyout doesn't necessarily make sense. But also moving forward, why should University of Pittsburgh pay a full buyout to him if he's made the NCAA tournament one time in 7 years? So where's now the stipulations to hold everybody accountable? The coaches should be held accountable. If you can't win or have a winning season, your buyout goes down. And again, we're talking loud here. If you win maybe more, maybe the buyout is adjustable. The players, the same thing. You're just upping and leaving for other opportunities. And I get that, but there's no stability. So from a fan base perspective, it's not like the NFL where you have free agency, because usually you're on a contract for 3 or 4 years and then you might go somewhere. But now, where is it for the fans? I mean, your team could be a different team each year based on your head coach's ability to coach and recruit.
It's a really good point. Winning cures everything.
Yeah.
If your team wins every year, think of a college basketball team, like Calipari at Kentucky, when he used to bring in freshmen and 3 or 4 of them would leave for the NBA draft and he'd just bring in another flock of freshmen. And, then you compare and contrast that with Houston, which I think they only had one guy transfer, and it is the guy that came to Pitt over the last 4 years.
Yep.
And they're going to play in the championship. And, so that's the complete opposite end of the spectrum. So, which one is better? I think we all prefer the Houston model because we want to see the same players come up through the system. And how special will that be for them if they win the championship tomorrow? But the truth of it is, if WVU football, if Rich Rodriguez is able to go out and steal away like 30 guys from, SEC and Big Ten programs after spring ball because they are the second stringers on their team and they want to start, we're all going to be happy with that down in Morgantown. And the same would be true with Dews and the Panthers. I mean, if they were able to go out and get 35 new guys, from those top flight programs and have a 9-3 or 10-2 season next year, I'm sure Pitt fans would be thrilled with that too. Yeah. So it's all about winning, and everybody wants it done immediately. And, so you're not giving coaches that 4 or 5 years to get it done anymore. And in Capel's situation, I'm not sure if it's the same as football, but, if he left and went to Villanova, that's not a good example because Willard's going there. But if he left and went to, St. John's, if Patino went somewhere else, then whatever they paid him would come off of his the buyout.
The buyout.
But Capel's not going anywhere, right? Yeah. I mean, he's not in demand. He doesn't want to go anywhere else. He wants to see it through. He wants to see Pitt back in the tournament. So if you fire him, you're paying every penny of that.
Yep.
So that's tough. They're in kind of a pickle there.
Oh, they're in a huge pickle. I mean, I don't know how you get around it. I don't think you can, to be honest with you. And it's the same with Narduzzi. He's $5 million, 5 years. That's $25 million. Why would you again? And it's a shame.
Yeah, I mean, if they had to do it to keep him, then yeah, that's true. But is he really being courted by other programs?
Yeah, no, neither one of them are.
Maybe.
And it just goes to that conversation you and I have had, like Narduzzi. He's been there, what? I don't even know, 2016, so he might be there like 10 years. I would say half of those years, he picked a crappy offensive coordinator. And you wasted 5 years of those kids' athletic opportunities, to get better or to get into the NFL because you just didn't select the right offensive coordinator. And that I mean, man, that's just bad. I think K. Bell is going to be great, but to sit there and bring these kids in and hope that you're able to develop them because their goal is to get to the NBA, but you fail them because you don't coach them well enough. You don't create the techniques. You don't put the entire team together for a system that you're trying to build. And that just hurts everybody. And I don't know, it's just tough. I don't know if I like the transfer portal. I understand it. I can appreciate it from a player's perspective. But to go like this every year, you can play for 5 different teams based on a medical red shirt or the COVID year, and that's going to be ending soon too. And there's no stability. There really isn't. It's just terrible. It's tough to it's tough to root. And like you said, though, winning cures everything. So if they win, whether it's the 5 or 6 recruits out of high school that come up through, or whether West Virginia goes out and finds 8 new people out of the portal and they win the Big 12. Is it going to matter to Ernie in West Virginia whether they were the freshmen coming through or whether they
Not
were the
one bit.
5 juniors? Exactly.
It's all
So
about the winning, yeah.
I just don't know how you can put guardrails on. I don't think you can.
Well, I think what they're going to do is make it a one-time transfer for players, and then the second time you transfer, it's going to be like it was before. You got to sit out a year.
You gotta sit out.
So that probably will squash the Wild West aspect of this. But with they also have to figure out NIL as well, because some schools obviously have an advantage there and can write checks to to players that they know may not ever even play one down for them or one play for them, but they're still going to write the check on that player's potential. I'll probably hold off on that. If you institute some sort of salary cap to this thing. It's all so crazy. But, the one thing that you can give credit to, like athletic directors and the NCAA, is that everybody's acknowledging now that they're not student athletes anymore, And really, were they ever, other than the Ivy League? We used to joke for decades about how these guys, their class schedules, some of the titles of their classes are just, it's a joke. But, so it's nice that at least we've gotten past that, and like nobody's lying about anything anymore, and nobody's, throwing out all these. He's a academic All-American and all that stuff. It's like nobody cares about that anymore, which is a shame in some aspects, but they're just mini professional teams now. And, WVU and Pitt are pretty desperate, I would imagine, to get into this next round, which is going to be like 2 mega leagues.
Yeah.
SEC, Big Ten, who's going to absorb everybody else. And, the two of us and the Virginia Techs of the world and the Texas Techs of the world and all their oil money, are desperate to get into that party. We'll be doormats, but at least we'll be getting the big money, and, we'll be on TV or streaming services.
I don't know if those universities that you mentioned will get there because it's going to be about the media dollars. It's going to be about media and marketing. I mean, Pittsburgh is right there between Penn State and Columbus. Do you really need the Pittsburgh market? You already have it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Streaming has a lot to do with it, though. I mean, they're able to measure who's watching. So if, like Washington State, the Cougs, a couple of years back were a top 20 team as far as eyeballs on, the streaming services when they were on, online on one of the various, or people just watching it via their device and not via cable or whatever. And it was in Pullman, Washington. That's not a big metro. Mm-hmm. So, but they obviously got left out because they're not, they're not the University of Washington. They're not, near the big city. But this next time around, it's going to be more about who's actually watching. Like nobody gives a shit if Rutgers is on TV. Maybe the alumni of Rutgers will watch the game, but it's not the market. It's not the New York market tuning in to watch them like the Rangers are in the Stanley Cup Finals or,
right.
Or the Yankees or the Mets or something. So I think the next time around here, they're going to pay less attention to the market sizes. I mean, look at the University of Houston. It's a pro sports town. So their football team, I know their basketball team is playing for the national championship tomorrow, but do you think that the SEC or the Big Ten is chomping at the bit to bring in Houston or Kansas, because they, have been in the top, have won the championship or have been in the Final Four? No, I mean, they're not looking at that at all. They're looking at, just generating like a Premier League, like in soccer, only college football. And they just have to find a way to weed out their Northwesterns and their Purdue's and their Vanderbilts, and
they're Illinois.
it's going to be very hard for them to figure that out.
Yeah. No, you're right.
So that's where we have to try to make ourselves attractive so that we can be included instead of those schools. But anyway, that's a whole other topic for a whole nother Hillbilly Yinzer podcast, buddy.
It is.
And we'll wrap it up for tonight, and next week we'll get together with a couple of fresh topics and see what the sports world has brought us. Maybe talk a little Penguins, a little Sid the Kid, and a little future of the Pens on Alex Ovechkin Day here. I mean, what
about that?
What can Sidney do to trump him? How close is he to the total points record and all that? I imagine he's quite a couple years away from that, but.
We can talk about a little about the draft coming up.
Yep.
With Steelers, and we can always fall back onto the Pirates.
Oh man, are we really going to talk Steelers?
Well, we can always chat about the Steelers, but do you want to put up a bet on how many wins the Pirates will have the next time we chat?
Next Sunday?
Yeah.
2 more?
Well, they're 3-7 now.
Yeah.
That's probably a safe bet. 5. Yeah, I would say 5.
I'll go 5, but I'd love to be wrong about that, buddy.
Well, you could love to be wrong, but that's probably a good chance because within 7 days, Skeens will pitch twice. So you could say 6, the way Haney pitched today, as long as the bullpen does not screw us. Or middle, whatever you want to call it. Or the lack of hitting, or the potential errors, the misfielding, the bad coaching. I don't know.
You want to talk about our closer situation? Ryan Barucki was the closer today.
I know.
I love Ryan Barucki, man, but
yes, but
the closer.
I go with the conversation you and I had. Remember, you said that Jaron Jones could not handle all of the innings because he gets hurt. He's the closer. Jaron Jones, when he gets back, he is the closer.
That's possible, man.
Based on the workload you said he's not able to handle because he gets hurt a lot, then let's make him a closer.
Little guy, throws hard, yeah. That could work. And Bubba Chandler. I know they want to build him up as a starter, but he could come up and throw gas, man. He'd get people out. He'll never even think of that, though.
I mean, you could bring him up and have him in middle relief.
I say closer or bust for him. I mean,
possible.
I don't think you want to bring him up and have him pitch 2 innings in a game that we're losing by 8 runs. You don't want him to have that mentality. You want him to come in and come up and shove the ball up there. You know what?
Wow.
So
okay.
I saw Bubba in the Futures game or whatever they call it down there.
You were impressed, weren't you?
Yeah, he's big time. I think we're going to hear a lot of him. He's not he's not a horse like Skeens, but he's bigger than Jared Jones, and but there's only one Skeens. I mean, you can't expect Bubba to do what Skeens has done, but I'm telling you, Bubba throws gas, and you can tell he's got the mentality to be a closer. But I will bet you, a legit amount of money that thought has not even entered Ben Cherington's mind.
No.
Not for 1 nanosecond.
I think Ben and Derek are going to be gone at the end of the year. I think Derek will be done sooner, but that's just my personal opinion. I think I just don't think he's going to make it. I don't. And Ben is, he's tied to Derek. He's talked about it, but I don't know if he'll be the one that will go with him, to be honest with you.
Well, that could be a whole podcast talking about these guys. Is there one player that Cherington's acquired that is a legit major league hitter?
Well, right now, Falafel. He's batting 300 plus. I mean, that's the one. I mean, Bart. Yeah.
I think you just answered the question with that falafel mix out there. No, I mean the answer is no. I mean, Sawinski. Nope.
Hey, and I've had this conversation with you. They interviewed Cherington at the same time they were interviewing the GM of the Milwaukee Brewers. Look what he's done with the Brewers since he's taken over compared to what Cherington has done with our famous Buccos.
Yeah, they've developed guys.
It's a night and day, and you had an opportunity to make it, and I don't know. I don't know what went on with those interviews. I know I wasn't in the rooms. You don't know anything and everything that was said, but it's like you got to think, wow, Sherrington got this job coming from the Red Sox, and here we are, what, 5 years later, and nothing. I mean, everybody was so excited because it wasn't the last guy that had this role that did absolutely nothing. But here we are.
Yeah, he's done okay with pitchers, I think, but it's just not one bat. I mean, Brian Reynolds is Huntington guy, Kutch, Dave Littlefield. You know, any legitimate bat in our lineup is either a Huntington guy or a Littlefield guy. There's no
Well,
Charrington guys in our lineup.
let me ask this: how's Ortiz doing since the trade?
Luis Ortiz?
Yeah.
Honestly,
You
don't
know.
know.
Okay. Neither do I. I just thought about it now because you had said about pitching and like, well, we gave away a pitcher.
Yeah, whatever he's
For-
doing, it's more productive than Spencer Horwitz thus far.
Back to the bag of balls and the bucket of chewing gum.
Hey, chin up, buddy. We got a long way to go in this season.
We do.
Skeens is going to pitch 30 times. Our starting pitching's been really good. So, Colin Holderman and David Bednar, I don't know how you're going to get that back.
Yeah, but Falter just pitched terrible, and Keller just pitched terrible, and who's the other guy that demanded to be a starter? What was his name?
Majeski.
Yeah, he didn't pitch well.
Yeah, the funny thing is Majeski, they built him up to 4 innings, I think, in spring training. But the funny thing is that, he's never in his pro career faced a lineup the second time through until this year. So, you got to admire the guy for wanting to be a starter, and but he obviously, the second time through the lineup in his start, he didn't have an answer when people started to adjust to him. And that's the first time that they saw him. So, I guess you give him a chance to make those adjustments. Watch the pitches back, watch what he did, and maybe his next start, he realized some things. But that's another example of a player, and maybe his agent, I don't know, going into the office of Charrington or Shelton and saying, I want to be a starter. I was a starter in high school. I was a starter in college. I started some games in the minor leagues. I want to be a starter at the major league level. And they're like, okay, yeah, all right, Carmen. Sounds good, man. You're fired up. Let's do it. Okay. So, but then the proof comes in the pudding. You watch the game. The second time through, he has no clue how to adjust to the hitters who have adjusted to him. They don't just go up there and take pitches and swing. They think about, what did he try to throw me? When's he going to try to throw this? When's he going to try to throw that? Where's he trying to locate? Joey Bart is not exactly Manny Sanguillen back there. He's not going to offer up slices of brilliance, on every batter that comes up. So a lot of it's up to the pitcher. And Majeski doesn't have any experience, but we're just going to throw him out there every 6th day until his ERA goes over 10. And then we're going to say, all right, Carmen, man, we were behind you. Man, you said you could do it. We felt like you could do it, but, let's put you back in the pen. Maybe even make you the closer. So what we're going to sacrifice 3 or 4 games in the major leagues until we realize this. And that's what drives me crazy.
Then what is the deal with the pitching coach? See, I would go back to you and say, okay, if Carmen understands the first time around, he's got him potentially. The second time around, he doesn't adjust. Well, number one, what's the pitching coach doing to help him adjust? Number two, you're watching video tapes of these guys that you're playing. So you know what they like, you know what they can't hit, and you should be adjusting to that. So it's not just going out on the mound and saying, okay, got the first round done.
Oscar.
Now we're coming around.
Hey, Carmen, man, don't throw that again, man. Don't throw that pitch again.
But what is Oscar doing? And it's like, I don't understand. Man, you can't be a power pitcher. If everybody's going to use torpedo bats or everybody's bulking up because everybody's getting bigger, stop being a power pitcher. Only Skeens can we know that can pitch like that. You've got to be strategic.
Skeens knows how to
out,
pitch, though.
in, out, up, down, all over the place. I'm watching highlights of baseball games in the morning when I'm working out, and it's like everybody throws it down the middle of the plate and expects them to miss. And next thing you know, you're watching the ball go out of the ballpark. Well, no crap. I mean, these are professional hitters. Why would you throw it down the middle of the plate? I just
Yeah.
Well,
hang in there with Mitch, man. His next start, he'll do okay.
Yeah, but this is what Mitch does. So he has a good outing, like he did, and then he blows his ERA up to 7, and now he's got to work with 6 starts to bring it down to 3. But Mitch has got to stop with the excuses. Mitch has got to start becoming a professional pitcher. And yeah, you can say all you want, but he's been up here long enough that he needs to know that you can't make excuses. Stop. Stop talking in the papers and start doing your job. You know what? Use Skeens. Use Skeens if you want to be, hey, this is where I want to be. Talk to him, whatever that is. But, man, I am so tired of Mitch telling me, you know what, I got behind again. I got to throw strikes earlier. Well, you've been saying it for 5 years. Every time you get bombasted.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, obviously we respect and we love the accountability thing, like we said before.
Yes.
But you just love to see some fire out of these guys. Just one of them. I would not be angry at all if one of them said, what are these people doing, booing and yelling, sell the team? Like on opening day, I know we didn't come in here with a winning record, but you guys should be behind us. And I'd actually love to see some fire, out of somebody like Mitch Keller or Brian Reynolds or something like that. If they really do believe in themselves, which brings you back to the thought that if they're not coming back, and saying some things about how the fans are not giving them a chance, then do they really believe in themselves? Do they really think they can win? And that's what drives us crazy, because even when you have a team that's obviously, behind the 8 ball, we're playing the Yankees. They've got a payroll that's 3 times ours, and they've got all these world stars on their team. Maybe your team knows that in the back of their mind, but you still want them to believe they can rise up and beat them. In football, definitely so. In baseball, it should be the same way. I know you play 162 games, but it's your job. What do you have to do other than show up for that 2.5 hours and just show some fire? Do the little things right, show some fire, and people in Pittsburgh will get behind you, even if you lose.
Be passionate.
You do the little things wrong, and you don't hustle out there, and you don't show some fire. They're gonna throw you under the bus every time.
Right. And I agree with you. If you're O'Neill Cruz and you're out there playing center field and you hustle to the ball and you dive but you miss it, you know what? They're still going to cheer you on. You know what? You're going full out to get it. But
I think Pittsburgh fans love Jack Sawinski.
Yeah.
And what has he done? I mean, would you take O'Neill Cruz or would you take Jack Sawinski?
Well, yeah.
Take O'Neill Cruz, for his talent potential. But people love Jack Sawinski more than O'Neill Cruz because he hustles.
And Jack's going to give you 20 home runs. He's going to give you 80 RBIs, but he's going to strike out a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, he is who he is. But, in Tony Pham, I don't know. Some of these acquisitions I look at and say, you're better off just bringing the youth up and letting them play.
Yeah.
Tommy
Pham shouldn't,
No. And
should be a bench guy.
Get Bart out of there. Get Rodriguez in here. Get Henry Davis up there. Get Bart go get a rotating first baseman for Bart that can have a hangnail on his toe that will have to be out for 2 weeks when Spencer comes back. But
that's disgusting.
It's I don't know. It's just disappointing. And again, we've all been around it enough just to. Like you always say, every spring training, you get your hopes up high and you're ready to go, and then all of a sudden you get punched in the face and you're just not sure whether you want to go down or keep hoping that some change will occur.
Yeah. Well, we've heard some of our favorite personalities talk about, the last 2 years, if instead of signing Michael A. Taylor and Rowdy Tellez, Spencer Horowitz and Tommy Pham, if they just, instead of those 4 guys, if you just took all of their salaries together and add a little bit on top and just went out and made some ridiculous offer to Pete Alonso or something. First of all, if we did that, Pete Alonso would have broke his leg, in the second game of the season and been out for 80 games, but that's beside the point. But, that's what they need is to bring a guy in like that who is going to hit 40 home runs, Not trade for a washed-up Chris Archer or, bring in all these retreads. But they didn't even try to do that, and I know that's an old topic now, They didn't try to go out and get a bat during the offseason. Anyway, a lot of stuff to discuss in the next one, buddy. But we're going to sign off, and we're going to catch up with you guys again next Sunday or right around there somewhere. And we appreciate you watching HillbillYinzer, and we're going to build this thing and have some fun and have a lot of input from the people that are listening and answer questions and try to come up with some great ideas that, while we're standing outside Nutting's house on Halloween with our torches and pitchforks, that we can put some banners up in the air that, make some suggestions. So we're going to need that from you guys. Anyway, what do you think, buddy? Call it a night?
Let's call it a night. Everybody out there, thank you very much for listening.
All right. See you next time.